One guy that we're probably going to see a lot of, Zach Wilson,
Yeah.
because Aaron Rodgers won't be playing. Zach Wilson needs the reps, and Zach Wilson benefits from all these positive feelings that are surrounding the Jets.
No doubt.
They're trying to get that hard reset. They've been trying to reset him for months now, ever since they benched him for Mike White, and who knows where it stands. Here's Aaron Rodgers from yesterday talking about his new teammate who is trying to get the most out of the proximity to Aaron Rodgers, and that is quarterback Zach Wilson.
As much as anything, I hope that this time for him is like a deep inhale and exhale, that he can really like take a breath and pause and sit with the disappointment of last year and the frustration, and then channel it. And I feel like he has, but just rechannel it to a positive and focus on the opportunity in front of him to learn with a guy who loves him and cares about him and wants him to be great and wants him to do incredible things every day and to get better. And then just go be himself and look at this as a chance to reset. I think he's done a great job. He's played really, really well in camp. You guys have watched it. I mean, he's made a number of great throws. He looks confident. His fundamentals, I think, are improving. He's throwing the ball on time because he's got all the other intangibles. He can run, he can move, he can throw on the move, he can throw no-look passes. Just to be a good reset for him. And I think he'll look back years from now and be really thankful for this time to grow, to reset, to take a breath, and it's going to set him up for a nice long career in the league.
It's amazing to see that from Aaron Rodgers for a guy he didn't know that well, if at all, before he became a member of the New York Jets.
Two in a row he's been really good with a young quarterback.
And I think that the best thing he could say to Zach Wilson, and maybe he has in a private moment, hey, Zach, I would have been in the same spot you're in if they had thrown me into the game.
Yeah, throw you to the wolves right away with a rookie offensive coordinator who never called plays before and a first-time head coach and everything like that. It was a tough situation.
I got to sit for 3 years.
Right.
I got to watch Brett Favre for 3 years.
Right.
I got to get acclimated. And, I would have preferred to have been playing, but in hindsight, it was the best way for me to get myself ready. So you didn't get that, and now you're going to get that. You're going to get that opportunity to sit and learn and grow without playing, in the hopes that when you do play, off you go. It gets back to what we were talking about yesterday, though. It's how do you make that handoff?
Yeah.
If Aaron Rodgers is going to play 2 years, how do you ensure that it properly hands off to Zach Wilson, who would become a free agent at the end of that second year? If he decides he's going to play a third year, how do you keep Zach Wilson around deeper into his own career? That becomes year number 5 for him, because we established yesterday there's no way they're going to pick up the fifth-year option. But at some point, you're going to want to play again. At some point, you're going to want Aaron Rodgers to ride off into the sunset. And yes, a 3-year period of sitting worked for him, but that was to start his career.
Yeah, this is different.
To have a 3-year limbo after you've been in the NFL for 2 years is a different experience altogether.
Yeah, it definitely is. You're right about that. I mean, it's a tough situation he's in, and after 2 years, 2 years would be about the limit to where maybe I need to now move on and try to go play somewhere else, or at least be a high-end backup somewhere to where I can get a chance to start or something like that, right? Rodgers, I give him a lot of credit. He seems like he's being the ultimate mentor, tutor, whatever you see. I mean, again, guys, play that clip we just showed there. Him just schooling Zach Wilson during a little drill there. That's cool to see. It's just cool. Aaron Rodgers is totally taking the reins of this organization, and he is leading in a lot of aspects, but doing a little drill here in the pocket. And look, I mean, I've seen a million clips. Anytime Zach Wilson does everything, he looks over at Aaron Rodgers like, what do you think? Was that good? Was that good? And Rodgers, like you said, got to learn from a legend. Mahomes got to learn from a quarterback that was really good. And it gives you a year of maturing. Sometimes with a guy like Zach Wilson, he thinks I'm talented. And like you said, Mike, you want to play and I'm going to get out there and I'm a baller and do all that. You don't realize that you're not ready yet. You're not mature enough yet. You're not ready mentally. You're not mature enough to stay on mechanics, maybe like what Aaron Rodgers was referring to on a day-to-day basis, to make sure you're really honed in that area. But at the end of the day, like Rodgers said, and where I do think it's cool with the Jets, they haven't given up on this guy because of what Rodgers said. The talent is real. You'll see tonight when we're on the field in pregame, you're going to go, man, Zach Wilson's a little bigger than I thought. You're going to go, whoa, he's got some legs and some muscle on him. And you're going to see when the ball comes out of his hand, you're going to go, damn, that ball pops. Like it's going to open your eyes. So, this is a good thing for him. I think it is to take a deep breath, sit back, and he can learn from the legend.
Something we were discussing last night, and it becomes a narrative when a player who is drafted very high doesn't work out immediately. Oh, he was a bust. He was a reach.
Right.
He was a reach.
Right.
Why'd you take him at number 2? It was the consensus. It was Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson.
Right.
Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson.
Exactly
There was
right.
no question about that.
Exactly right.
The 49ers moved up to number 3 knowing that Lawrence and Wilson would be gone,
Right.
and they would take the best of the
And
rest.
they would have took
if
one of those
them,
too.
If one of them was there, that would have been the
Exactly.
guy they would have taken.
Exactly right. I mean, yeah, it was Trevor and Zach. I was the only person, right, that had Zach and Trevor, and obviously I was wrong, right? I own that.
Or you may eventually be right.
Well,
Who
maybe.
knows?
We'll see where it goes. I still believe in the talent, but yeah, now he's been throwing the ultimate curveball, like you talked about, because now there's a perception about him out there, right? And there's been so many memes and whatever else and all that, and he's kind of been portrayed as something to where, yeah, he's going to have to put some good film out there and kind of slowly but surely try to change that perception of what people think of him.
But look at what he's done.
Yeah.
And think of how deep the hole got last year.
Yes.
Remember, after that Thursday night game against the Jaguars, when it was just a disaster. And they brought in Chris Streveler.
Yes.
And Jay Glazer of Fox, who is never wrong about anything, that Sunday said the Jets are done with Zach Wilson and he's out after this year. And even when that turned for some reason, because it's entirely possible that was true at the time and something happened that gave them an epiphany.
Right. Agreed.
But even if that turns and the Jets all of a sudden decide they want to keep him, the other side of that equation was Zach Wilson. And I remember saying, presumably on our show, because we say all kinds of stuff, and that's the 2 hours every morning that we have to talk about stuff. I remember saying, what's Zach Wilson think of this? What if he wants out? He's part of this conversation. Maybe he's had enough. Maybe he's ready to move on. Maybe that relationship in his mind is broken, the way he's been treated, the way he's been jerked around in and out of the lineup, and the fans don't like him now. But he was fine to stick around. He didn't say, I want to go somewhere else. I want to be a starter.
Right.
So he's not acting like a punk. If you think he's a punk, he's not acting like a punk. He's acting mature already.
Yeah.
So that's an encouraging sign.
Right.
That he understands what's gone on, that he's accepting it, he's self-aware, and he realizes this is an opportunity to learn, to grow, to mature, and to eventually become. And what a story that would be. If after this break, 2 years into his career, he disappears, and then he comes back whenever Aaron Rodgers is done, and he follows Aaron Rodgers, and he does justice to Aaron Rodgers, and becomes the guy that he was supposed to be from the get-go.
Yeah, I mean, I think in their perfect world, they're hoping it's Roger Staubach to, Danny White or something like that.
And we don't see quarterbacks get that opportunity anymore. That's the problem.
Very rare.
If you
Old
don't
days, you saw
hit
it.
right away,
Right.
you're done. Terry Bradshaw would have been back in Shreveport
Phil
pumping
Simms would
gas.
have been back in Kentucky.
Done.
Right.
It took him 5 years. You don't get 5 years to figure it out anymore.
Right. Yeah. It took Phil 5 years too, basically. He had injuries and, was on a bad team, and exactly right. Yeah, it's rare. So it's good to see. We've talked about this before. It's good by him to realize, wait, these people, I still have people here that support me and like me. The GM drafted me, the head coach, they like me for a reason. So there's something there. There wasn't going to be a market for him to go anywhere either. But yeah, he's handling it the right way. And probably the perfect guy came into town for him to handle it the right way too. Rodgers is another one where it was Zach Wilson's favorite quarterback growing up, right? That's my thing of the week. I said this to a bunch of people. Like, Rodgers is your favorite quarterback's favorite quarterback. That's who he is. Kids, and he was that way for Zach Wilson. So I think this is one that made it even easier to let me fall in line. Whoa, it's Aaron Rodgers. Let me do that. And the other thing that I love about the Jets, like you said, there's no pressure. Everything's off that way. He can mature and rebuild the computer and do all that. But between Rodgers, who's going to handle him the right way, and this is where I think Nathaniel Hackett's awesome. This is where I know Nathaniel Hackett's awesome. And like I talked about with his dad a little bit yesterday, they will rebuild him. You know, they will have their little Nathaniel Hackett will have his magic way of starting to take the pressure off him. And hey, you're good, man. And look what you're doing out here. And I mean, hey, you made a better throw than Rodgers on this play, right? And they'll rebuild him.
Just make sure Aaron doesn't.
Yeah, right. He might exactly right. But that's where I think it's really good for him too. And you know, who knows? Hopefully he doesn't get a chance this year to play, but if he does, he seems like he'll be more prepared than usual.
There's another subtle wrinkle to this, too, as it relates to what the Jets are going to look like post-Rodgers. We've talked about how when you make the play for the veteran quarterback and he gets a big chunk of money,
right,
even if he shaves off $33.7 million of it, you're looking at some massive cap hits when he goes. And the way it's set up now, if he plays 2 years, they'll have $14 million in his name, even though he's not on the roster in 2025, and $35 million in his name, even though he's not on the roster in 2026. So if Zach is going to be the heir, they need to get him to take a reasonable contract so they can otherwise operate under the salary cap. And
that might
maybe
actually
that's
work.
part of the quid pro quo, and
maybe
he understands it. And being around Aaron Rodgers,
right,
and, you know, money isn't everything, and life is bigger than that.
And who's going to offer him big money anyways out there, right?
So they could find a way to get him to
Right,
kind of do what Aaron's doing, and you make an investment, a down payment, and you get to play, and then you unlock the bigger contract once they clear off the Aaron Rodgers cap charge. It's a hell of an experiment.
It is.
And it's, when you consider all the factors, it is unprecedented. To combine veteran star quarterback with young quarterback who was highly drafted, who failed, but who still may succeed, and we're going to put him on ice while the veteran star quarterback is here. And that veteran is supposedly, hopefully, going to raise things to a level that will make it even harder for the young guy.
Right,
we'll worry about that
when it comes.
We'll worry about that when it comes. That's a good problem to have.
Right.
We've never seen this before.
No, when you said that, we've never seen this before. Like, what is the closest thing we can even say, like, or that you could even compare to this, right? Like, I brought up Staubach and Danny White, right, back in those days. The other one that jumped out to me is, you know, maybe we have seen this to a degree. Steve Young and Joe Montana, maybe, right? That was one that worked out, and maybe that's something they can replicate. But you're right.
Yeah, but they hated each other.
They hated each other.
That's the only difference.
You're right. But either way, it was, I know Steve wasn't, you know, the number 2 pick in the regular draft. He was the number 1 pick in the supplemental draft, and brought to the 49ers because, Joe looked like he was slipping and there were some injuries. You know, Joe regained the form, won 2 more Super Bowls, but then got hurt in there, and then Steve Young got to take over. But I think that's the only one I can even, like, slightly even put in the same ballpark as this. This is uncharted territory.
Yeah, I'm racking my brain for a situation where there was a highly drafted quarterback, somebody else came in while that quarterback was stabilizing his career.
Right.
And then, you know, like in Terry Bradshaw's early years,
there was some of that going on.
There was this weirdness with Terry Hanratty and Joe Gillum and who's really the quarterback
but
and who are they going to go
Aaron
with.
Rodgers coming to town.
Right. It wasn't like they went out and brought in Billy Kilmer or Sonny Jurgensen to take over for a couple of years while Terry Bradshaw just, you know, took a seat on the bench. I think this is unprecedented, and we'll see where it goes.
Yeah.
Hi, it's Mike Florio. Thanks for watching PFT on YouTube. Hit subscribe for the latest news and analysis from Pro Football Talk.